The last time I had the dream, I was walking down the school hallway, and that's when I started to notice that something's wrong. Everyone I cared about has been systematically replaced. And finally, I want to scream, and I'm like, why are they replacing every single character with someone who is diverse?
No, make it more lame. That is exactly what they're doing. And that is why we hate the diversity, equity, and inclusion casting and writing in movies.
One major development going on now involves more to do with Rachel Zegler and her attitude towards South Park Studios and Paramount after learning about what they are planning for their upcoming special called the DEI Special.
In a legal battle that has captivated both the entertainment industry and free speech advocates alike, actress Rachel Zegler filed a staggering $100 million defamation lawsuit against South Park creators Trey Parker and Matt Stone, igniting widespread debate over the boundaries of satire in modern media.
Even if everything worked perfectly, it would have been almost impossible for this movie to succeed because you're comparing it to one of the most beloved films of all time and a truly groundbreaking movie.
The lawsuit stems from an episode of the long-running animated series that lampoons Zegler's role in Disney's controversial remake of Snow White, portraying her as a self-important diva who contributed to the film's troubled production and underwhelming reception.
Our rights are on the line, folks.
The right to buy Cosby sweaters?
Come on.
That's the face of a serial killer.
And if you disagree with this sentiment, just hit the unfollow button.
This clash between Hollywood star power and unapologetic satire highlights the tension between protecting personal reputations and preserving creative freedom, especially in an era where social media magnifies every narrative, turning minor controversies into global spectacles overnight.
You don't particularly see people who, look like me or are me playing roles like that. So it was definitely, when it got announced,
he wasn't a stalker, by the way.
Thing that was like trending on Twitter for days because all of the people were angry.
The case's high-profile nature reflects broader societal anxieties about how far satire can go before it becomes harmful misrepresentation, especially when the target is a young actress still forging her path in an unforgiving industry.
It's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White.
That laugh.
That is
not going to be saved by
You
the
wrote
prince.
it?
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can.
At the heart of the lawsuit lies the South Park episode itself, crafted as part of the show's forthcoming day special, which targeted not only Zegler's performance, but also the broader corporate messaging surrounding Disney's attempts to modernize its classic catalog within the episode. An animated version of Zegler parades through a pastel-colored kingdom, smartphone in hand, delivering biting commentary on historical context, studio politics, and social justice initiatives, culminating in a musical number that skewers the public's fatigue with high-budget remakes.
As an actor, you don't get to dictate anything. You don't get to dictate if a film actually happens. You don't get to dictate when it is shot, how it is shot, if you can ever speak about it to the public. You are simply just there to show up and say your lines and look the way they want you to look. That is our job.
Parker and Stone's trademark irreverence was on full display, but Zegler and her team argued that the episode's humor veered dangerously close to defamation. They pointed to scenes implying Zegler personally siphoned funds from the film's budget, using absurd imagery like studio accountants dumping bags of cash at her feet while she proclaimed, "Modernization isn't cheap, peasants."
God forbid a woman dream about true love. We're all just sitting around here, maybe I could be president one day. I hate that, I just want to be president. That screams Disney princess. Oh my God, I'm literally getting enraged. Once again, I feel like I'm back in 2022.
While longtime fans recognized the show's exaggerated style, Zegler's attorneys insisted that some viewers lacked the media literacy to separate satire from reality, citing online posts where individuals appeared to believe the parodies. Claims this conflict between creative license and personal reputation set the stage for an unprecedented legal showdown.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
The lawsuit's filing sent shockwaves throughout Hollywood, with industry insiders and media commentators immediately speculating on the case's potential ramifications. Parker and Stone, no strangers to controversy, have faced their fair share of backlash over the years, including lawsuits from religious groups and cease and desist orders from corporations.
Yeah, the entire film's about a love story. It's about a love story because that's what the point of the film is, and I'm sorry that chivalry in a man pursuing you is now deemed as stalking, which now it's kind of making sense why men are opting out of the dating scene.
Yet, This case marked the first time an individual actor had sought such a colossal sum in damages for a comedic portrayal. As news of the lawsuit spread, public reaction predictably split along cultural lines, with some applauding Zegler's courage to stand up against what they saw as unchecked mockery, while others defended South Park's role as a bastion of free speech and satire. Social media platforms became battlegrounds, with hashtags like #TeamRachel and #TeamSouthPark trending intermittently, each side producing memes, video compilations, and lengthy threads to support their arguments. This polarized discourse only added fuel to the fire, transforming a satirical segment into a national conversation about the limits of humor in today's hyper-connected world. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, Disney quietly monitored the unfolding drama. Although the studio was not directly named in the lawsuit, the shadow of its corporate interests loomed large. Over the proceedings, legal experts speculated that Disney feared the lawsuit could expose internal communications about Snow White's production, budget overruns, and executive decisions, details the studio would prefer to keep under wraps. Rumors circulated that Disney's legal team stood ready to quash any subpoenas, seeking sensitive documents, particularly those that could show Parker and Stone's satire was rooted in factual reporting. This delicate balancing act between shielding corporate secrets and avoiding further entanglement in a legal dispute added an extra layer of intrigue to the case. The entertainment giant's silent presence underscored the broader implications of the lawsuit, reminding observers that satire often operates within a complex web of corporate and personal interests, each with its own stake in how public narratives are shaped. As the case progressed toward trial, legal teams on both sides marshaled an impressive roster of expert witnesses, ranging from media scholars and psychologists to economists tasked with calculating Zegler's alleged financial losses. The trial hinged on a central question: could the average viewer reasonably interpret the South Park episode's parody as factual? Previous court rulings have generally shielded satire under the First Amendment, particularly when the content is so absurd that no reasonable person would take it seriously. However, Zegler's attorneys argued that in today's fragmented media environment, where out-of-context clips can go viral and influence public opinion, even the most outlandish portrayals carried the risk of real-world harm. The defense countered by pointing to decades of precedent, insisting that satire serves a crucial watchdog function in democratic societies, holding public figures accountable and exposing cultural absurdities. This legal tug-of-war framed the trial as a potential watershed moment in defining the future of satire in the digital age. When the trial finally commenced, it became a spectacle worthy of its own South Park episode. Reporters packed the courtroom gallery, eager for sound bites and dramatic exchanges. Parker and Stone arrived in their signature understated style, but with flashes of irreverence. Matt sporting a tie adorned with tiny cartoon figures and Trey-donning television-shaped cufflinks. Zegler, in contrast, appeared resolute in a tailored navy blazer, projecting seriousness and determination. Both sides presented emotionally charged opening statements, with Zegler's attorneys portraying her as a young woman humiliated before a global audience, while the defense painted Parker and Stone as heirs to America's rich tradition of satire. The trial featured a parade of witnesses dissecting the cultural and psychological impact of parody, while legal teams sparred over the fine line between lampooning public figures and inflicting reputational harm. The judge declined to dismiss the case outright, leaving the jury to decide whether the episode crossed that delicate boundary. As testimony unfolded, Parker and Stone took the stand, offering candid insights into their creative process. They described how South Park thrives on chasing the most absurd angles in current events, trusting that their audience understands the difference between a cartoon's outlandish humor and a literal news report. Yet, under cross-examination, they acknowledged that controversy can drive viewership, subtly conceding that they sometimes relish the chaos their episodes stir. Zegler's testimony, in turn, painted a poignant picture of the personal toll the episode took on her life. She recounted waking up to social media feeds flooded with mocking clips and cruel commentary, her mental health frayed by the barrage of ridicule. Her lawyers argued that such sustained public humiliation, even if born from parody, had tangible consequences on her career and well-being. This emotional testimony resonated with many observers, injecting a human element into what might have otherwise been a dry legal debate. After days of deliberation, the jury reached a verdict that resounded throughout Hollywood. Parker and Stone were not liable, while jurors expressed empathy for Zegler's distress. They ultimately concluded that South Park's surreal tone made it unreasonable to interpret the episode as presenting factual claims. The decision reaffirmed long-standing protections for parody under the First Amendment, ensuring that creators could continue to lampoon public figures without fear of defamation suits so long as their content remained clearly satirical. This outcome was met with mixed reactions. Free speech advocates celebrated the ruling as a victory for artistic freedom, while Zegler's supporters lamented what they saw as a missed opportunity to hold media accountable for the harm it can inflict, even unintentionally, regardless of perspective. The verdict underscored how the courts continue to wrestle with defining the limits of satire in an era of rapid-fire digital communication. In the aftermath, both parties sought to move forward. Zegler, though visibly disappointed, thanked her supporters and emphasized that her goal had always been about advocating for respectful dialogue and media portrayals. Her willingness to take on such a high-profile case earned her newfound respect among peers, who recognized the courage it took to challenge entrenched comedic institutions. Meanwhile, Parker and Stone returned to work, releasing a South Park episode with a tongue-in-cheek dedication to anyone who's ever wanted to sue us. Thanks for watching. Viewership spiked, yet the episode's tone was subtly reflective, hinting that the creators had taken the lawsuit's implications to heart, even as they maintained their irreverent edge. The broader industry, too, took note, with entertainment lawyers, PR strategists, and media scholars dissecting the case in seminars and publications, debating its implications for future conflicts between satire and celebrity image management. This legal saga ultimately highlighted the fragile balance between creativity and reputation in the entertainment world. For Zegler, the lawsuit clarified the boundaries she was willing to defend, while Parker and Stone emerged reminded that even their sharpest jokes echo far beyond their writer's room. The court's verdict reinforced the legal protections for satire, but also exposed the reputational risks involved when parody intersects with real-world careers. Industry insiders predict that the case will serve as a landmark example in entertainment law courses and media ethics discussions for years to come, illustrating how satire, free expression, and personal dignity coexist in an uneasy but essential dance. As the dust settles, Hollywood and beyond continue to grapple with the question, in an age where humor can travel further and faster than ever before, how do we ensure that laughter remains a force for critique without becoming a tool of harm?